Hey guys, welcome back to another Be Good People. Curtis and I having conversations, talking about what's going on
around the world, here at home and abroad.
Curtis, are you still working from home?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's been. I've lost track completely.
We're recording on a Saturday.
It's Saturday, yeah. And I woke up like ready to go to work, and I'm like, it's Saturday, right? I have to check my phone. Yeah, okay. I went to do something in my truck yesterday. Went to take off some trash, and I had not driven it all week, and the battery had died.
Oh no!
So,
you need a new battery then.
Well,
that's not made in a week.
No, yeah, that was fun. Just the little things, you don't use it, you lose it, kind of thing.
Yep. Well, cool. Yeah, I'm coming to you. We went to our summer villa. So that's where I'm coming to you from today.
Beautiful magenta background.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah. It's weird I can't see you in the mirror. Maybe it's just a bad angle.
Oh, that mirror is going at a different angle. I could get up and show you, but I think we should probably move on and keep
it's
going.
Not important. It's not important.
What you sent me a link, or not a link, you sent me a, hey, check this out on Netflix. We do that sometimes. We send each other books, documentaries, things like that.
Yeah.
And so you sent me one called Saving Capitalism.
Yeah. It was back published in 2017, I think. Yeah. So it's a little bit older, but
yeah. And I had watched it and kind of forgotten about it because I remember when I pulled it up, it was like a resume at like 70%. So apparently I'd quit at 70% of the way through. So I ran it back and watched it. And it's interesting to listen to, and I forget everyone's name in it. But it was a labor secretary under Clinton.
Robert Reich, I think.
Yeah, that's it. There were two Roberts. There was a Treasury guy and then and him at labor. But anyway, so he was just kind of giving his accounts of looking at the political landscape and how laws come into being and how we see kind of governance of large businesses and taxes and those types of things, and how they've been shaped over the years as he's viewed them. That's kind of what the documentary is. It kind of just gives us that. And he's gone back some too, and like, hey, look at what was going on here. And kind of this idea, that book we've been talking about too, We're So Polarized.
Why are we polarized?
Yeah.
Why we're polarized.
Why we're polarized.
Got the name right, finally.
Yeah. Well, he talks to the same thing, because there was actually one scene in the documentary. He's sitting at a dinner with people, and it's like people from all Republicans, Democrats, all over the landscape. Libertarian was there, like all over the place. And he starts up the discussion, and people tend to start taking their talking points. Their political talking points. And he goes, hey, guys, let's just put the Republican Democrat thing out. Let's just put that away for a minute. Yeah. And let's just talk about this logically. Like, it's not that's not important.
No,
And it was a good watch. A scary one. It talks to 2008 and the crash. And the bailouts that happened there, and what what that looks like. And when we're in a place now, I think it's relevant now. We're in a place where a bunch of people got a bunch of stimulus checks. Yeah. I got mine, by the way. It ended up in my bank account.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think it's valuable to talk about what does that look like? Like, we're getting stimulus checks. We're trying to restart an economy that's busted. Is this gonna fix it, or are there some companies we need to bail out? What's next?
Well, yeah, and I mean, I hate to go, in on from my side of it, but so I'm hearing the guilt trips of people being told. We talked about a few episodes ago where we were saying that the old Dave Ramsey, like, save up, what is it, $1,000, and then save up 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, and we're asking people to work $8, $9 an hour and do that. And who was it? Mitt Romney today came out saying that he was going to support adding a $12 per hour wage increase for these essential workers.
Increase them to $12 an hour.
No, add $12.
Oh, add $12. So somebody's making $7.50.
Right.
Now they're making $19.50.
But at the same time, you got the first stimulus bill that added on 600 to the unemployment. And so people are making like, I don't know, like $700 a week just to stay home. And so there's a lot of fear that why would people want to go back to work if you're making that much money to stay home? And I asked the question, who would not want to stay home with that? And why are they being paid so low that that's an option? You know, unemployment is supposed to be like that 70, 80%. And when they're when they're being unemployed right now and living off that, they can't make ends meet at all. So they had to do that. Otherwise we would have riots in the street. We wouldn't have these, you know, protests or stuff. There would be flipping cars and people couldn't feed their kids. So they're going to get out and do some damage until they're heard. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that they saw that and knew we're going to have to increase it this much. Well, I think that's just going to backfire a little bit and show people kind of what that Robert guy is saying is that we've kind of let these pay increases go on too long without being done at the federal level. I think we talked, I can't remember if it was in a podcast or if it was just conversation me and you were having, but like the minimum wage hasn't increased I remember they increased right when I started with my first job, and it went from like $5.15 to $7.25 over like a 3-year period. And that was 2006. So, I mean,
probably. I remember, so it's my age, but I remember under Clinton, it moved from $4.75 to $5.15, but it was like graduated, like it happened over like 6 months later it happened, and then 6 months later, but it was a gradual step up to $5.15 to give companies time to scale, you know what I mean? Exactly. Scale correctly. I think, you know, again, from that, I mean, I'm not trying to rip the documentary, but one of the things that they were talking about was some legislation through the Clinton era that they pushed forward to specifically try to like counterbalance what was happening. They saw wages not going up for workers, yet the executive income going up a lot. And it's fine if you want to do that in their company. What they said was that's totally fine. You can pay your executives a lot, and as long as you're keeping with the law, pay your workers whatever you want to. That's totally fair. And I don't think you are, well, you might, but I'm not. As a capitalist, I'm great with that. If you can get someone to work for less money, I'm okay with that.
Well, that's
they're okay with that.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Like you agree, like exactly. Well, I mean, if people are voluntarily taking on that, but if there's like a coordinated effort to where you know everyone can scale low on their payment, then but that's kind of a bad system, and that's kind of what he is pointing to in his documentary.
That's what he's pointing to. And one of the things he pointed out during that Clinton era and what they were trying to curb was they just keep paying executives more, which is fine, but there was a law on the books to cap taxes for executives at a certain level. Like they wouldn't continue to tax all of this extra revenue. And so they were like, that's ridiculous. So they were getting rid of the law. It was good to go and everything. And then some lobbyists came in for these companies and said, well, okay, that's totally fine. Can we just put an exception in for compensation based on corporate achievement? Yeah. And so that's like bonuses, you know what I mean? A non-cash bonus, like corporate achievement. And so that's like stocks. And so what all of a sudden they put that in there and the guy, I forgot his name already, Robert.
Reich.
Reich. So he says, no, wait guys, we shouldn't, that's what we're trying to combat. Like we shouldn't do that. And everybody's like, no, it's fine. It's just, it's not going to be their pay. It's going to be this. And then all of a sudden executives changed to a lower base with big bonuses that are non-cash. But it's stock. It's equitable stock. The next year they can sell off the stock and have the money. Yeah,
it's why Bill Gates will take $1 salary for a whole year. Yeah. You know, that's that's how it is right now. And I mean, and so everyone gives Trump like the attaboy for like taking no salary, but like that's the world he comes from. It's like you don't take a salary. That's stupid. You know what I mean?
Well, but I think. My point and what I got from that documentary a little bit was like it's totally fine to do that if you want to be a company that does that, but the government shouldn't be giving you an exemption or giving you a helping hand in making a wage gap
Mm-hmm.
in our upper class, lower class, working class. Like, we shouldn't be rewarding that. And
Yeah.
that's what our tax code is doing for corporations right now. It's rewarding that gap. And so maybe we need, if we think that we don't have living wages right now and we want to we want to raise the minimum wage, maybe we need to start rewarding that. Does that make sense?
No, what do you mean?
And
rewarding what?
This is coming to me as I'm saying it. But what if we, instead of rewarding a corporation, they can save on tax dollars if they bonus out executives with money, okay? Because they don't pay taxes on that.
Yeah.
Bonusing it out in stocks, all right? So that's what so they're going to use that loophole.
Yeah.
What if the loophole was, we'll charge you less corporate taxes if your minimum wage gets to $15 an hour.
Right.
If your minimum worker, or we could do an average, you know what I mean? Whatever,
right.
You know, is this, we'll reward you with a tax incentive. Like, what if we were rewarding the practices we want to see instead of the practices we don't want to see?
I think that's, you know, I read up a bunch. I haven't really heard that before. I'm sure someone has put that out somewhere, but that's
I could never have an original idea. Thanks, man. You know,
I didn't say it.
Breaking news right here. This is.
I mean, yeah, you heard it here first, guys.
I came up with Napster, and that guy stole it from me. Anyway.
No, I mean, but the question has to be asked, like, why isn't that already a thing? You know, who pushes our legislators to vote on that, write that bill, put it through Congress?
And that makes common sense to me and you. That's not saying that an owner of a small business can't make all the money in the world. They can make whatever they want.
Right.
And we'll charge you less taxes if you pay your people well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of, it seems like a no-brainer to a small business guy, because he's like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. But to a large corporation, maybe it doesn't make as much sense.
Well, like, you look at like Walmart's pay scale, and, you know, this is non-official, but the average Walmart employee is having to live their income with Walmart with federal or local taxes for, you know, like food stamps or TennCare here in Tennessee, programs like that are already funded by the taxpayer. So if you give those tax breaks to people, to big corporations to pay their people a living wage, then we kind of cut out all that bureaucracy, don't we?
Well, yeah, but actually from a conservative standpoint, we reward hard work. You know what I mean? Like, we reward people to go get a job instead of not having a job.
And you take out the federal government from the equation for the most part. You know, they're there as a watchdog. Yeah, they're like a watchdog rather than just, you know, a mediator between the worker and the owner.
That Robert guy, he said something in the documentary that, like, it was a light bulb moment where, like, I hadn't thought about this before. He said it's not regulation or deregulation. It's how are we going to regulate? Like, there's not actually a deregulation. It's just, we're just not going to regulate it that way. Yeah, we're going to regulate it a different way.
A different way, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was interesting. Like, that made me think, like, oh, yeah, I guess it's all regulated anyway. You know, like, we will be, I mean, there's all kinds of regulation. There's all kind of stamping, honestly, of our freedoms as Americans to make money. There's all kinds of controls in place. Because there have to be. I mean, you can't. Because if there's not, then people own people. And you know what I mean?
That's how we started out.
Sell drugs that kill people. Like, if you don't have regulation, it's pandemonium. And so we have things like, you know, rules against monopolies, you know, rules against how executives can leave their company when it's dying, and rules against insider trading. And, you know what I mean? We have those rules and that regulation because you have to. Otherwise, it's pandemonium. Otherwise, people are stocking up on toilet paper. Some people are doing it out. I mean, honestly.
You know, there's a lot to be said, and I hate to just keep talking about COVID. I'm so sick of all the news cycles with it.
You're sick? You've been tested?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay. But like, in all this, you know, panic and, you know, whatever you want to call it, there's people in the service industry who still don't have their unemployment checks. Everyone's getting their stimulus check, but I know guys, it's been 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and their status is still pending. I think, with the dates lining up not almost exactly, but pretty close enough to raise an eyebrow with the Great Depression. And here we are, kind of heading the same way with people out of work and not being able to, just to work. And I'm just sitting here thinking, we learned that hard lesson back in the Great Depression. It seems like we didn't learn it though. That we talked about it a lot. When times get tough, you survive off that, fat storage or the savings account or whatever, back channel that you put away to deal with hard times. But it just seems like we did not put anything back to deal with this. Like, I guess that, there's so many people flooding it. They talk about 20 million, 30 million on unemployment. But like in Tennessee, I think it's like 10, 20% of people can't work that are filing for unemployment. And we can't support that. Like 10% is what overloads the system. You know what I mean? Like, does that seem right?
I mean, that's...
I think we're pivoting away, but
if that's our terminal capacity, we're in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, and if that's our terminal capacity in other things, and it's showing, I mean, the reason why we're having to flatten the curve is because our hospital system, our medical system in the United States cannot handle a capacity that allows us to live normally and just contract the virus. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the truth.
No, I mean, that's it. I mean,
if we're looking at this COVID situation, it shouldn't lead us to just temporary solutions. It should lead us to long-term solutions. Yeah. Because it's showing our weaknesses, which is good. We've talked about that if I can say it, we've talked about that in the church. We've talked about how something like this that totally upends what you normally do starts to show some weaknesses and some areas where you can do better. And honestly, some better routes to go than maybe you were that you didn't see before. Because
and that's where my mind goes. If I'm taking, if I have a route to work, back when I drove, and there's the same pothole every time I go through, I'm going to find a new way to go. And I feel like we're driving down the same road we did with the last recession. The 2008 comes up in that documentary. And so I said this before I watched it, but I feel like it's just so obvious that, anyone's going to say it, is Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party both came from that same situation. And they were both saying the same thing. But ultimately, neither got anything done to fix the problem. They instead just started infighting.
It was the same conversation. Yeah. It was, hey, Wall Street is getting all the benefit of our government and the regulation that's happening, and the normal people aren't. And I think Tea Party wanted to drain the swamp. I'm not very good at this. And Occupy Wall Street, I don't know what their slogan was, but it's the same message.
Yeah, well, there's I think, I don't know if this was the part of the documentary. I was kind of zooming in and out of it, but it had like the Tea Party on one side and Occupy Wall Street, like two video feeds going on at the same time. And it had a quote at the top is like, you either stop railroading our people and our country or else. And they're like, pick which one said that.
Oh yeah.
You can't like for sure say who said that, because it could have came from either camp.
Yeah.
So are we going to do the same thing? Like right now, I see the protesters, and then I see, guys like me who are saying, well, we should be asking why, the unemployment, why can't people get a stimulus check? Why is it taking so long for, the government, the system that is governing us? What are they doing with all my tax money? If not to build infrastructures where we can brace for the Great Depression part two, or prevent that, see enough ahead and see the trends and say, no, we're not going to let this happen again. We're not going to let like the economy crash from the Spanish flu. We're not going to let that happen in modern era with all the data and all the tools we have to collect that data. Like, we're not going to let that happen again. But here we are, starting down the same road.
Yeah, and that documentary specifically too, and everybody should watch it. I mean, it's on Netflix. If you've got Netflix, go check it out. It's Saving Capitalism. But
I think it's a book too.
Yeah. No, the other guy that was working in the Clinton campaign or the
Mhm.
Clinton administration with him wrote the book or something, I think is what
Okay.
it was.
Okay.
And so, but he kind of, I think he talks about Donald Trump a little bit. This is 2017, this is post-election, right?
Yeah, it was right after he got elected.
Yeah. And so he talks about Donald Trump a little bit and shares some clips from him and stuff. And I'm no Trump supporter at all. I've said it before. I hope he loses. I'm not a fan of him personally, but it was interesting. Like what Donald Trump said he was going to do was actually what people wanted, which everybody's like, how did he get elected? He was speaking the words that people wanted.
Right.
I mean, and whether he comes through on them or not, I don't know. You know what I mean? It could be empty promises like every other politician.
Right.
But he was actually not walking around the issue. He was saying, hey, when I was a businessman, I paid bribes to government officials. I gave to all their campaigns. And then when I needed something, I called them and then they gave it to me.
Yeah,
because
2
of
or 3
course
years later.
I gave them all their money.
Exactly.
And he just admitted it. That was openly in a debate. Like he just admits that, I totally did that. You need to stop it. You know,
I like my favorite part of that documentary is it was showing like they're seeing like 2008 to 2016 through the eyes of this farmer who did pretty well. But like he said, every year he saw his returns going down further and further because, you know, the price of milk went up, the price of gas went up, but his wages weren't going up. And so now he's in a place, I think he said, I made like $320,000 last year. I was like, whoa, you know, you're not hurting. Yeah. And then his son asked him, okay, so, you know, what did it cost to do all this stuff that you're doing? He's like, it's 300,000. And so his son's like, so you only made 20,000 last year. And it just kind of hits him. And he's just like, yeah, that's wow. Yeah. I mean, and he just realized what, you know, hole he had not dug for himself, but
has been dug around him though.
And what can he do about it? You know, he's a farmer, and that was what the point was, is farmers aren't lobbying. I mean, there's farmer groups and big farming monopoly. Well, we can't have monopolies, but, you know, quote unquote monopolies. They're lobbying for these things to happen where it's tougher for the little guys to get ahead. So like what can be done? I don't really, you know, Robert doesn't really have a clear answer for that other than just, you got to do more than just show up to vote every 4 years. You've got to be knocking on your senator's office door. I guess you have to mail them a letter now, or maybe they'll Zoom us. I don't know.
Hey, well, I think that was a good encouragement from you from last episode, was like, you need to be looking more at your local politicians than you are at your national.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was from the Ezra Klein book. And I mean, I'm going to try it out, you know?
Yeah. Because they're the ones that are actually advocating on your behalf.
Yeah. Well, they're the ones writing the bills and
when you don't like how they're advocating, you get to get rid of them. You don't get to get rid of anybody else. You know what I mean? Like that. And
commenting on their Facebook page is not the most effective. You know what I mean? That's very easy. I think it's very easy it's easier for you to do it. And so I also think it's easy for that representative to be like,
to ignore it.
Yeah. He probably didn't even looking at it. Some interns shielding that from them. But if you're getting like an email or a phone call or a voicemail, like, they've got to listen to those and they've got to read those. So enough of those are definitely going to change someone's mind. And maybe you like how they're doing. I don't know. But
yeah. I'm sure
if you don't, then you got to do more than just, I'm going to go vote, or I'm going to talk about it on Facebook or something. Like, ultimately that means nothing. It's not going to change anything.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I think that's what we said before, that, you know, going into this, we're like, hey, what part of our conversation do we want to share with people? And I think what we wanted to share was this idea of, hey, let's start looking at, you know, how we elect officials, and let's start looking at what we lobby for as individuals, because there are corporations out there and large groups of people, you know, that are lobbying on behalf of corporations and wealth in America with plenty of money. And they're pouring it into commercials, and they're pouring
they're getting what they
projects
want
for politicians in order to get what they want. So how are we lobbying on our behalf and for what we want? How are we stacking up to that?
Yeah, and I mean, like, these guys are getting voted in on promises, and if they're not following up with it, you know, a lot of these, like, Congress doesn't have term limits, but they have pretty short terms. So you know, just don't keep pounding. You know, it gets old after a while, but I think if we become a little bit more active in our daily, because I don't like politics. Well, your everyday life is politics. Like that's just you existing. So this idea that we've got to stop talking about it, and you don't ruin friendships or families, relationships over it. But like, I think we started this whole podcast series, or not series, but like the entire podcast off the idea that we got to start having like meaningful conversations, not so much the, hey, how are you doing kind of thing. And you can't have those with everyone, but maybe it's time to, you know, talk to someone you love and trust and like, hey, what do you think about this? Okay, cool. Then maybe we should, you know, let's write some letters together to this person or that person, these people that hold power over us, and start making the system, you know,
well, and I
a
think
little bit more in everyday people's lives than just benefiting the people who can pay them a lot of money.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to like, if you want to be good, okay, whatever good is. Mm-hmm. If you want to be good, you're going to have to put some advocacy for your ideas.
Yeah. You're going
to have to take some action.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To advance that idea. And I think that's, you know, maybe it's reaching out to your local politicians. You know what I mean? Maybe that's where it starts. And if you don't see results there, maybe you need to move beyond advocacy to action. Maybe you need to run for that office.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to set up some sort of nonprofit that promotes that good. You know, and I would encourage people to start thinking in their life, you know, maybe you're at the point right now where you've been sharing it with all your friends and you've been talking to everybody. Hey, this isn't okay. This isn't okay. This isn't okay.
Yeah.
All right, now take action. Yeah, and everybody that you've told that to that is nod agreeingly, go to them and say, okay, this is the action I'm taking. I want your support in it. You know? And whether that's running for office or
starting a food bank, starting a live coaching. I mean, like if you're like, again, like I've seen, you know, people on the left giving him crap, but Dave Ramsey's put his money where his mouth is. He wants people to be doing well in a capitalist system. So he's got all these programs open to where, you know, you can manage your money. I'll teach you how to open a business. If that's your cup of tea, then you need to be like pushing that forward as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or doing something with it rather than just, you know, oh, these kids today, they want everything for free. It's like, well, why? Why do you think that? Why is that a trope in today's conversation? You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe it's because they, you know, their ladder that they're able to climb versus your ladder that you were able to climb back in the 70s and 80s it's you know, it's dry rotted a bit.
Yeah.
We haven't invested in those ladders like we used to.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, I think we're wrapping up. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think we revisit this again, but I don't want to drag on. It's a lot of good things to think about. I mean, half the stuff that you said, you've never said before. I've never heard before. So
yeah. Well, and I think that's you know, back. Somebody, a buddy of mine, you know, he reaches out and comments through text message with me, and on our every Tuesday he checks in, you know, to the YouTube page. Or actually, he does. I think he does it through Apple Podcast. But he listens to it and he like live texts me back as it goes. It's funny, like I know when he's listening because it's like just the text after text. And I love that. I think that's great. But there was one episode where he's like, I thought you were this, and I thought you were this, and I thought you were this. I was like, yeah, I was, until the conversation I had. And I realized like I was learning and I was putting things out there and you were pushing back on them. And like people are all, you know, I've heard it from a couple people. I thought you guys were supposed to be like opposites and other, you know, against each other. I thought this was supposed to be a conservative and a liberal. I thought this was, and I'm like, well, we are. But like, that's not the point. Like there's a lot we agree on, especially when we talk it out, we figure out compromises or better ideas. And I think this has been fun, and I've enjoyed people joining in the conversation with us a lot.
Me too. I mean, that was the whole, you know, to harp on it again, the whole point was to, you know, what does it look like to have someone you disagree with as a friend, like a daily friend? You know, this is kind of it. I hope other people can see that. I'm just, you know, same with me. I'm not the fount of unquestionable, infallible knowledge. You know, I've learned just as much from these conversations as I think you have. So
yeah, well, Curtis, you make me a better person, and I enjoy that. And I don't think it's a superpower you have. No, I think it's vulnerability and honesty. You know what I mean? And teachable spirit. And because you're teachable, it allows me to be taught sometimes. And I love
vice versa. Yeah. Cool. So jump in the conversation, guys. We'll post this everywhere we usually do. YouTube, Instagram is heating up, Facebook's heating up a little bit too. So just join in or private message us or text us if you have our numbers. We'd love to talk to you guys and help you, take that first step and having a good conversation with people you love.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.